Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Excess Exceed, the show where Gearface gets learned by an expert Exceed player who has graciously devoted their time to patiently explaining and re explaining simple Exceed concepts to me, who doesn't know what he's talking about. I've got Reggie.
Where? Where's the expert though?
Oh, my goodness.
And
Did we forget
where's the
to?
patient? Yeah, no, you scheduled this wrong again. You've got me here instead of someone who knows what they're talking about.
This keeps happening to me. As you can
Oh,
hear,
it's
we
just
have we have Reggie in the call here to talk about platinum and to uh, make fun of me. So far, everything is going according to plan.
yeah, yeah, I am. I am gonna make fun of you.
Perfect. All right. The contract is being fulfilled. So, quick disclaimer before we get started: we're going to be talking about playing to win on this show. If also, I'm not even sure if I mentioned it. We're talking about platinum today. This character.
You did.
Okay, good. Thank
You
goodness.
did.
Um, so we're going to be talking about playing to win on this show. Uh, that isn't the only way you can play. Exceed is fun, it turns out. You can play for fun. And if the lines we're discussing are not interesting to you or not fun to you, please play the lines that you do like and play in a way that you enjoy. It'll keep you playing longer. It'll, in the long run, probably make you a better player. And the other thing is, we're going to be talking kind of for brevity's sake about strategy in fairly prescriptive terms. Always do this, never do this, that kind of thing. Always a big asterisk next to those. Exceed's not a solved game. We don't know everything, and if you think you know better, uh, let us know. I want to hear more about differing opinions on these characters. So if we get anything wrong or if our understanding is incomplete, please tell me.
No, see, I'm talking in prescriptive terms because I'm a Sith, and we only deal in absolutes.
That's
So
true. That's true.
yeah,
Um,
you can't. You got to make sure people are aware.
yeah, definitely. So if you do leave a comment in the description saying why we're wrong about platinum, you also have to try to like throw Reggie into the Death Star reactor or something before you can
Yeah,
leave your comment.
or some lava, something like that.
Yeah, throw him into something or cut him in half. There's options, but we'll talk about it. All right. Reggie, tell me about platinum. I don't know anything about her. I learned about her. I looked at her cards for maybe the second time ever prior to this lesson.
All right. So this is how I can tell I've never played you in a competitive setting because Platinum is up until season 7 probably my strongest character.
Okay.
Her and Mole Knight are both incredibly strong. But Platinum, there is a term I'm going to define now that I may use later just for brevity.
Okay.
So her ability says clean up, you may reveal the top card of your deck if it has a continuous boost, play that boost, then sustain it. Otherwise, discard it. A lot
Right.
of words. I'm just going to refer to that as wild boosting.
Okay.
Like wild swinging, but it's a boost.
But it's a boost instead. That makes sense.
Yeah. I or I'll refer to it as Platinum's ability. So
Okay.
Platinum's ability to wild boost saddles you with a bit of action compression at the cost of either not getting anything if you get an instant boost,
Mhm.
or not knowing what it is because you know it's wild. You could be swinging completely out of control.
Right.
Now that you you have a few ways to mitigate that we'll go into later, but that's her ability.
Okay.
So it lets her freely put boosts into play. This is a very strong ability, but the downside is for Platinum, some of her boosts, I mean, in fact, all of her boosts have some downside to them.
Right.
Like +1 to 2 range and +1 speed is incredible. Unless you wild boost it at range 1. Then, you know, your maximum range, your minimum range is greater than 1.
Right. And you can't actually hit anymore. So this occurs on
Yep.
cleanup, meaning it's after the
Yep.
strike has occurred and it's going into the next strike. So you have a little bit of time to kind of reposition yourself to make use of the boost. It's also happening on
If
defense.
Yes. So the
Gotcha.
thing is, you have time to reposition if you do it when you have the next turn.
Right.
So say your opponent, you initiate a strike and you don't gain advantage. If you wild boost at the end of that strike, the opponent is going to have the opportunity to react to your boosts,
Right.
where you won't.
Right.
But if you do it on your
So
turn, yep,
so in the situation that you just described with the plus range situation, um,
yep,
if you get that at range 1 on your turn, your opponent sees that there isn't anything that will be
yeah,
gained in their current position in your current position from that boost. They're just going to punch you for it, probably.
yep.
Okay,
Basically, you
gotcha.
are probably going to get punished for it.
Okay,
So there is a downside to wild boosting when you do not have control of the next turn. But say the opponent's out of cards in hand, or you're taking the next turn, why not? Uh, it's action compression. Continuous boosts are good. Like, just as a rule, I would say that with the quality she has and the normals she has, as she's in season 5, so she has the 1 to 5 normals.
yep,
So, Fierce, Light, Defend are the 3 available to her. Uh, 3 of the best boosts in the game.
sure.
Like, incredible stuff.
Yeah, being able
But
to put that on for free without taking your turn is a really really strong ability.
yes. And then her Exceed mode. I hit the wrong button to flip her. So she keeps the same ability, sort of. So, cleanup, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it has a continuous boost, play that boost, otherwise discard it. In either case, you may sustain one of your continuous boosts.
Hmm.
So, you do this, you get, say you get you have a boost in play and you get one off your wild boost. You get to you get to decide which one stays in play.
Right,
Ultimately, you have a boost in play and you whiff on your wild boost. You get to sustain the one in play.
right,
It, and that's not even the part that I consider the best of it. The best part of it is her overdrive, but it does make her a bit finicky to, in my opinion, to exceed with.
okay.
Her overdrive is if the discarded card has a continuous boost, play that boost. You know what has a continuous boost on it, Gearface? Sweep has a
Sweep.
continuous boost on
Yep,
it,
yep,
and Grasp.
yep.
In a kit that doesn't lack for speed, putting +2 power on things, very frightening. And
Yes,
you have your cleanup ability, so you can sustain it.
yep.
You
So
can just, yep,
so just to make sure that I'm kind of getting the order of operations here correctly. Her exceed ability is or her exceed cost is 3. Let's say that like these 3 things over here are in my I just succeeded. They're in my overdrive. It's my
yep,
next turn. I pull one of them off. Um,
yep,
it's this one. Uh, this now becomes a boost because it has
correct.
a continuous boost. All right, on my turn, I strike. I pull
Wow,
some. I
boost.
wild boost. I do the strike. There's a card in
Yep,
play. It happened. All that stuff. I wild boost. I reveal its grasp. I can choose to sustain one of these. I choose to sustain
yep,
the grasp. This goes to discard pile. Pass my turn to the
and that,
opponent.
yep,
Okay. Um,
absolutely.
and then uh, on my opponent's turn, I can clean up again. Uh, wild boost again if I
Yep,
want to. It's
at the
okay.
end of, if they strike, yeah,
Right. Pretending it's not a grasp. I like the
yep,
grasp better. I'm going to keep the grasp instead. It's still there.
yep,
Uh,
you
my
can
my turn
just,
again.
yep,
Another one happens, and the process repeats.
yep.
Gotcha. All right. That's it. Yeah, that seems good.
It is a very good ability, but it requires you having in your gauge to put into your overdrive area at least, in my opinion, 2 things from your overdrive. Like
Right.
2 things you would like to put into play.
Okay.
If you do not have 2 things worth putting into play, it's sort of a bit more rough. Like that's two you know, you're getting the sustain and you do get to put one thing into play, but it's a lot of lost value when she has other ways to spend her gauge to good effect,
Right.
which I think she does.
So it's
Yep.
even in a situation where you have two good things in Gauge, you might not be exceeding as a matter of course because you might want to be playing your ultras or something.
Yeah,
It requires all of the considerations that a season 5 character would normally have for when to exceed, but also make sure that two things are in your gauge that you want to boost with.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
It's all the conditions that you would normally worry about when exceeding, but you have like selections.
Okay.
Like the things you want to exceed with are limited. Now, in saying that, two of the best ones we brought up earlier, Grasp and Sweep, are two very easy cards to land.
Yeah.
So, but that does mean you're not playing them as their boosts. So, yeah,
Right. So
it's
it's
it.
definitely a question.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh, but she's not gonna suffer if you don't exceed with her because she has Miracle Gene as a win con ultra.
Gotcha.
It doesn't look very impressive. Full
Yeah.
gauge, 2 to 3, 3, 4.
So
Eh.
under curve at max range, not doing too much damage, a lot of gauge. Now I'm looking at the before effect and I'm starting to get it.
Yeah, you may play up to 2 continuous boosts from your discard pile. That's not all. After, sustain all your boosts.
Right.
That's not the 2 you put into play.
It's
That's all of them.
all of them. Right.
So if you set up to play this card, you have a speed boost in play, puts it above curve.
Right.
Suddenly, and then you get to grab any 2 boosts from your discard, including the 4 gauge you spent. They're in your discard
They're
now.
in your discard too.
Yep.
So you don't have to choose. The thing you were saying earlier about, okay, well, if you hit with sweep, you're not playing light, and exceed is a way to play light even after playing sweep. But so is this.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. And
Yep.
that's an after effect. Then cleanup
Yes.
occurs. I pull
Yep.
another boost and
And
sustain that as well.
yes.
Wow. Okay, so
It's not uncommon after this to have 4 boosts in
yeah,
play.
so at minimum, I'm gonna have two. I probably had one beforehand because I'm platinum and I often do. Um,
Yep.
and then I'm gonna get another one for cleanup. So my next strike is gonna be likely pretty crazy.
Yeah, like this card, most 4 gauge ultras, and this is a thing I will say often, will lose to 1 normal,
Right.
which is not the case for this card. This card loses to lots of normals.
Mhm.
In exchange, when it does win, you win this strike and the next one.
Yeah. Which is I mean, in a game that involves as much trading as exceed, two cleanly won strikes is frequently the difference between winning and losing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
She, yeah. So that is why you do not have to worry too much about not getting to exceed. In my opinion, I think the exceed is a stronger effect because it is non-interactive. You just put the things in play. You don't take any risk with it.
Right.
But it's a lot more selective and positioning, and it's a harder thing to finagle.
Right.
Whereas Miracle Gene is you have a speed boost and you have 4 gauge. Okay. 'Cause by the time you have that set up, you probably have at least 2 things in your discard worth grabbing.
Right. And if you don't, maybe they're in your gauge. And if it's the fight between exceeding and playing Miracle Gene, uh, the things being good in your gauge to play as boosts help both of these
Yep.
situations. Okay. So at that
Yep.
point, is it just player choice, or would you recommend
Yeah.
just going for the ultra?
It's player choice and situational. If you can set the ultra up in any way, or your opponent is playing scared and giving you the opportunity to layer boosts, your boost warring. The moment you have an advantage in a boost war, I think Miracle Gene is phenomenal and terrifying. Terrifying's on a different character.
That's
Uh,
Sagat.
yeah. But yeah, like if you can have 1 or 2 boosts in play and like in an advantage, but if you are in the position to exceed and your opponent's not playing scared, the exceed will make them play scared. They will be afraid to strike into you
Right.
because Season 5 Exceed modes.
Sure. Yeah, they're dangerous.
Yeah. Uh, you have one good boost, and then suddenly you have one good boost for 4 turns,
Right.
sort of thing.
So over the course of a platinum game, should I be expecting to budget in one exceed mode and that's it?
No.
More than
Yeah.
that?
If you're gonna exceed, it'll be once, but I would, if I'm playing platinum, when I play platinum, exceeding is more of a happy coincidence than something I actually aim to do.
Right. Okay. And same question, like over the course of the game, I'm not sure, having not looked at her card super carefully, what her gauge generation tends to be. Could I
It's
could
not
I
bad.
could I be reasonably expected to play some more than just this ultra, or is this kind of my one payout of gauge if I'm going to play it?
You'll probably play Miracle Gene and one Cure Dot, which is the other Ultra, which is
Yeah.
2 gauge, or you'll use the other, or you'll use the Force, the gauge's Force.
Okay.
But you'll probably get one Miracle Gene in,
Gotcha.
even though it costs more than Platinum's Exceed mode. Platinum's Exceed mode is pretty specific in what you want to spend to get the actual value out of it.
Right.
So you're you're likely to be spending Force, gauge's Force. When I'm playing Platinum, first thing I do when I'm looking at my gauge is I look at cards and I go, well, that has an instant boost on that. I can probably spend that as Force because I'm not going to use it to exceed, and it's less value as spent for Miracle Gene.
Right, because going to the discard doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah,
So over the course of the game, 6 gauge plus a little bit more for spending force is is a reasonable
four,
assumption to make.
4 and a little bit more to spend.
Okay.
Whether that little bit more is Cure Dot or it's Force spent, it's yeah, it
Gotcha.
depends on situation.
Gotcha. Okay.
and and the opponent in particular. Or you get lucky and you exceed, and then if you exceed, all bets are off. The game's probably over.
Hmm.
Um, I consider her exceed, if set up, to be like one of the strongest in the game. Just
Right.
is really simple. It's a return on resources that are already good. Like it is good to hit with sweep. So getting to use light, which is also good to boost. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this also, as a consideration about the exceed mode, the fact that it's 3 gauge. On the one hand, any other season would say, "Oh, it's only 3 gauge." That's for the effect you're getting. That's not that. That's very affordable. It's a season 5 character. They have overdrive, which means that also is a 3 turn timer, right?
Yeah.
So you're not getting it for as long as you would if it was a 4 gauge exceed.
But Platinum is really good at boost warring due to the number of boosts she has. So if
Right.
it means the opponent doesn't strike for 2 turns and just plays annoying
Right.
for 2 turns, that's 2 turns you can use to set up.
Definitely. Yeah.
And with setup, she's very scary. So I'm going to go through her kit now.
Sure.
I'm going to go through each card and I'll just discuss both halves of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds great.
so we will start with Dramatic Sammy, one of my favorite cards ever printed.
Wow.
Yes. It's a 1/4/2, ignore armor, ignore guard, before advance 1 or 2. So it hits at ranges 1 to 3.
Mhm.
Uh, it has hit, gain advantage. You may sustain one of your continuous boosts. Uh, it's incredible. It is slow for a mid speed, uh, but the payoff for landing it is so high. Like, if it hits, it's probably winning the strike, and it's gaining you advantage, and it's sustaining one of your boosts, which is
Right.
probably a speed boost.
Because you needed it to confirm Dramatic Sammy.
Yeah,
Right. And then you
so
get your cleanup on
that's
top
it.
of that.
Yeah,
Right.
and you have advantage, so you're pretty safe to do your wild boost.
Right, because you're gonna have the next turn anyway. In general, Reggie, even pretending this card doesn't gain advantage for a second, if I have the ability on a card to sustain one of my continuous boosts, and my opponent is going next, is the threat of that one boost safe enough that uh, does it make the situation safe enough that I would be okay to wild boost when my
Wild
opponent's turn
boost.
is coming up?
So interesting question. I would say it would depend on what boosts you have gone through.
Hmm.
Because it's very deck comp specific. Like if you're at range 1 and both your magical cat hammers have gone, so then suddenly it's not too bad. Your wild boosts are pretty safe.
Right,
So like, and it also depends on what boost you have in play and you are sustaining.
right. How scary it is currently for the opponent. Okay,
Yeah,
but
like
but
if you have defend in play, which is a not uncommon one to have on Dramatic Sammy,
right,
it makes it pretty consistent. Uh, a lot of things are pretty good with +1 armor and +3 guard.
sure,
So you're pretty safe. It's hard for your opponent to exploit. Will be hard for your opponent to exploit whatever you play.
right. But even with one continuous boost in play, the real consideration tends to be that your turn is coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. Sorry
And
for the
there's
interruption.
also no, you're all good. And there's also the point of it. Sometimes, even if the opponent will have the next turn, if it is something that they have to react to, like say we are not at range 1 and I do get the magical cat hammer, they have to do something about that.
Right,
So it's such a polarizing boost that results in them having to do something.
right. That can also be a player preference thing. If the platinum player feels like playing a little bit riskier and getting a higher payout from their wild boost going into their opponent's turn, that's still an
Yes.
option, and it's still very dangerous.
Yeah, they still have to do something about it.
Sure.
The boost on it, magical bomb. Hit range 2 +2 power. So Platinum's kit, as we're going to go through, you're going to find a lot of her boosts are part good, part bad.
Mhm.
+2 power is phenomenal, but a specific range 2 hit is hard to pull off a lot of the time.
Right.
So you probably won't be boosting Magical Bomb all that often.
Okay.
Um, your range 2 game isn't stellar to begin with, so it's not exactly the most threatening of boosts. But sometimes, you've played a cheeky EX Miracle Gene with Light or something at range 2, and you just need the power.
Yeah.
We respect it. If sometimes the play is what it has to be.
Sure. And if
Uh,
you are at
yep.
range 1 and you play grasp, for example, and you set range 2 as your hit effect, this can happen afterward,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Correct. It's a hit effect. You order them in any order.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
Uh, yeah, that can also come up.
Right.
But I personally find the value of the threat of Dramatic Sammy is much more worth it.
Right.
If you can control it. If it comes down on a wild boost, it comes down on a wild boost.
Sure.
Then your goal is to just maximize the value.
Right. And stand at range 2, do a thing, or hit from be in a situation where you can use that hit effect because it came up and you might as well try.
Yeah, if you've got value, you might as well use it.
Yep.
But there is the next card in the kit is another way you can turn a dud boost into something more worthwhile.
Mm,
So it's a 2/5, 2/5 fireball. Pretty good. Like that's a decent fast fireball.
sure.
Before, you may discard one of your continuous boosts from play to gain +2 power. So, let me list off things that are good with that. Speed, because speed goes first.
Oh,
Like, speed doesn't matter at the
speed already happened. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So, you can get rid of any speed effects, any before effects. You go, nah, I don't want that. Like the one on its own kit, or the one on magical missile,
Yeah, that's both.
which is
That's both
speed
a
and
speed and a
retreat.
retreat, right? Or a before effect.
Yep, the fun part with that one is you can do it you can choose to discard it or not. Like if retreating would put you in the range of their fireball, you can just discard it before you retreat.
Right,
Or you can retreat and then discard it.
right. Because
It's a very nasty combo.
the boosts don't go away until cleanup.
The end.
Right.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So it's a very flexible card. And even if the boost is something like Magical Bomb, which you're probably not hitting at range 2 with Momo, though you could, but you can discard it for +2 power.
Right. Okay. So it's not necessarily for dud boosts because you can use it to confirm Mystic Momo, but it has the kind of adjunct ability to say, well, this wasn't super helpful off of my wild boost, but this is a way to make use of it anyway.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
1 force for 2 power.
Okay. And I mean, also like a fast fireball, like, is this just useful in the opening mix up too, as nothing else on it?
Yeah, absolutely. You have, in your opening mix up, you have move, don't move.
Sure.
Fast on both guards, both sides. So on your opening mix up, the opponent has to consider, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Are you coming in? Are you not coming in? Do do you have, or if you play a single boost from opening positions, then things get even weirder because Platinum is a weird character.
Right.
The boost on magic on Mystique Momo, Magical Do Re Mi box, is before pull 2, which is some semi functionally plus plus 1 to 2 range.
Yeah.
Now there's times it's not that, depending on positioning. Like if you're in this positioning, it's plus 0 to 2
Zero to
range.
two, sure, because pushing past or pulling past you still works just fine.
Yep, and it is beaten by focus. But if the opponent is at like range 4 and they play focus to not get pulled into whatever you've played, that's pretty good for you.
Yeah, you're fine with that.
Yeah, they've played a focus to do that.
Right. So other use considerations. Before Reggie, you and I talked about the value of before movement triggers on Mole Knight when you taught me about him. Can I
Yep,
consider the sort of implications of a before pull two effect to be sort of similar to that, where I'm depositioning my opponent at the speed that I want to be moving at? So grasp would get them out of there very, very quickly and interrupt whatever they're doing, but
yep,
focus or sweep would do it, before they actually, uh, their attack would likely go off from the position they're in, and then they'd move in. So I can mix things up with
yeah.
that too.
Before pull 2 on focus makes it like a 1 to 4 thing that probably underspeeds what your opponent's doing. It only does 4 damage. That's the going theme in Platinum's. You'll see across Platinum's kit. She
Right,
doesn't do a lot of damage.
right,
She does average 3.5 ish.
okay,
But she can do it consistently in frustrating ways that uh, really, you only, once you do it a few times, then you land a Miracle Gene and hit for 6 or 8,
right,
and then you have the next strike where you hit for 6 again, and suddenly it's over.
right. So you're it's almost like the early game for platinum kind of like lulls somebody into a false sense of security a little bit because you're hitting for so little, and then you just kind of blow up, but you blow up very consistently.
Yeah, so she is very consistent in her ability to land hits too.
Right.
You know, ignoring dramatic Sammy, she's got a fast fireball, a fast dive, a 1 to 3, and then a 1 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those
So
are all very consistent shapes to land.
right. So odds are you're going to be able to make something out of these and consistently land damage, and that also means you're consistently getting gauge probably, which is good for her payouts.
Yep. So the next card in her kit is Mammy Circular. It's a 1/4/5 before advance 3. If you advance past the opponent, no armor. So you know how I just said this is a fast dive? It's
Yep.
also an assault that ignores armor.
Sure. At range
Doesn't gain
3.
advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on curve, but it ignores armor unless
Okay.
they've cornered themselves. Uh, sometimes you just need it. It's an on curve way to end the game.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It's your closeout card. You staple some power on top of it. Now they can't block. They can't focus.
Yeah, they're at full life, which not that's like at full life you normally feel relatively safe. Uh, you're at full life at range 3. You play against Spike because if Spike hits you, you're dead, and then
Right.
suddenly your opponent crosses you up, and you go, "Oh, I'm dead."
Right.
So it's a very consistent card, easy to staple power onto. Whereas I consider Momo a bit not rough to staple power onto, but not valuable because it can generate power other ways.
Hmm. Okay.
Like
And you're
like
not
it's good because it's consistent, but
right. But and with Mystic Momo, you're also not. If you staple additional power onto that, it's probably going to be +2 with the extra +2 from that. You're hitting for 6, which is cool. But that isn't hitting a breakpoint. You're not.
that's also not how that works.
Oh.
Before you may discard one of your continuous boosts from play. So if you've got 2 boosts in play and you discard one and then have +2 from another attack,
Right.
you hit for
Okay.
6.
Okay. So that
So
that that would require some shenanigans of some kind to make
yeah,
happen.
some sort of setup. And
Right.
it's not impossible. It happens. And if you hit for 6 with a fireball, you said it doesn't meet breakpoints, which is true in the normal game. But
In
in the
melee, sure.
fireballs,
In the fireball meta, 5 is kind of more common for the breakpoint you're trying to hit.
yeah, 4 or 5. So if you're hitting for 6, you're going very fast and stunning.
Right.
So that's pretty good.
Okay.
But circular is a good way to good thing to stack Baron because it's just as consistent as Momo, but it can ignore armor to end the
Right.
game.
Right. Definitely.
The boost on Mammy Circular, -1 speed plus 5 guard. Phenomenal at range 1 and kind of rough at further ranges. Because it means your opponent, it's safer for them to play mid speeds, you know,
Right.
EX
Right.
spike suddenly beats assault sort of thing.
Yeah. So this is seems like very very threatening and maybe telegraphed with dramatic Sammy.
Yeah. Which
What?
it does make dramatic Sammy not really as effective as a range 1 spike because it no longer it's 1 speed then. It
Oh,
doesn't beat.
it doesn't beat sweep anymore.
Yeah, which then stuns it because it has 5 guard. But it
Right.
does make it pretty good reactively. You think your opponent's playing Salt at further range.
Right.
Dramatic Sammy. Yeah. So it's an awkward one. This is the first. I would put in the same category as Magical Bomb, the boost on Dramatic Sammy, as an awkward boost.
Okay.
Like I would even say this is slightly worse than that. Like getting this at range 3 or 4 can be devastating.
Right. And because this like at worst this one is I'm sorry, this one is
Yeah,
null, right?
nothing.
If you're not at range
Yeah,
you're sad, but you're not making yourself weaker. This actually has the potential to really mess you up if you're trying to play on curve or something.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward for sure.
Okay.
Now we're
But
on to yep,
at range 1, I'm thinking about so all right, so now you're able to play so that
assault for
yeah,
free.
exactly. Yeah, you can kind of your the things that would normally require you being on curve, uh you don't have to care as much anymore. You can assault at range 1, uh
Dive depending on
you can
positioning.
dive slightly closer than you would be able to before. So it's a way to make your mid speeds work, but that minus speed makes that kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we're on to Happy Magica. 1 to 3, 3 1, 2 4. If you are hit, the opponent must discard a card at random. So hit if you were hit.
Right.
So it's a card. It trades up or better. It's nothing flashy. You know, your opponent assaults you, you take 2, they take 3 and discard a card. But they
Right.
have the next turn. Eh. Then you look at the bottom of it, and it says +2 speed before retreat 2. And you go, oh, okay, maybe, but that's speed neutral because of how the speed curve works.
Right.
You know, you retreat to, yeah, you're at range 1. You now have +2 speed, but the thing that hits at range 1 is assault now,
Right. And that's
which is
2 speed. That's
7.
2 speed slower.
Yeah, so it doesn't change the curve. And then you think about it a little bit more and you go, well, if I'm backed up near the corner and I
Sure.
retreat 2, oh, or you go, oh, but my Mystic Momo is now 7 speed. If I'm at range 2 or range 3 and I retreat, I still hit.
Right.
It didn't change that situation for it. Same with Mammy Circular. It's a before trigger, so you can do the befores in either order. But
Oh,
you'll
right.
probably want to go before retreat 2. This is 7 speed at range 1 that ignores armor.
Yeah.
You know, that's a hell of a way to end the game. And that's not even considering what I consider the most annoying boost in the kit for the opponent. This is very rarely a downside.
Right.
And if your opponent has you cornered, like, it's just +2 speed.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
your
is
opponent
notable good boost, right? Like +2 speed frequently wins you strikes.
+2 speed is one of the best in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, phenomenal boost. Happy Magica is not a card you'll be upset playing. Magical Missiles is a boost your opponent will be upset with you for playing.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean even without some of those combos, like the some of the other things that you've mentioned about like how to stack triggers and doing things with Miracle Gene and her Exceed mode. There's a lot of possibility there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. The other thing is, yeah, it does mean your assault is, 7 speed. It's the best thing that hits at range 1. It also means your spikes work at range 1 now.
Right.
It's
Sure.
5 speed and it retreats too. Bam. Hit the opponent for 5. Just just a little just cheeky little spike. It's very frustrating to deal. It's a very frustrating thing to deal with if you're not prepared to think about it.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. By the way, as we're talking about this, it occurred to me that I never asked. Where does you mentioned that Platinum isn't super great at range 2? Where would Platinum prefer to stand?
3 to 5.
Okay.
3 to 4. You know, a lot of
Yep.
her kit works at 3 to 4,
Yep.
particularly in context of one of the ultra boosts, which when we get to it, I'm going to laugh and cry while I explain it. I will weep real tears. Um, yeah, so 3 to 4 lets you do a lot of things, but she is also okay going up to range 1, you know.
Right.
She can put extra power into play through the use of Miracle Gene and, Grasp and just perfectly happy boosting.
Right.
So, your sweep's hitting 8 power. You have so she doesn't really like 2. She's not great at 1, but she can play that. But at 3 to 4, where speed matters a lot, those ranges speed is kind of funky and important.
Right.
She has access to speed. She's pretty good there.
And so in some cases, I mean, I'm noticing that several of the cards that you've mentioned as being important to play deposition her from that range. In that case,
Yes.
before retreat
Yeah.
2 is almost strictly an upside that you're getting back to
Yeah.
the range that you want to play. So this is the kind of thing that you might play if you're in control of it after you've already knocked yourself out of position by paying out it with a different card.
Yep.
Okay.
Or, you play it when you're there, Or, the fun one is when you're cornered, because it's just straight up 2 speed and your opponent can't do anything about it.
Right. And it's on a card that's way less valuable than sweep. So you're
Yeah,
not having to choose between, oh man, I just gave up my sweep, but Happy Magic is not that valuable.
yeah. Happy Magic is okay,
Right.
but like it's 2 armor, which sometimes 2 armor is going to keep you alive.
Sure. Sure. But the opportunity cost that keeps people from playing light every single time they get it in their hand sometimes is that sweep is a great card to hit with. And
Absolutely, yeah.
this doesn't have that problem, and the mitigating factor of the before retreat true isn't actually necessarily a mitigating factor for platinum because she might like that.
Yeah, it's somewhat fake.
Okay.
So now we're on to her last special, Dream Sally. 1 to 5, 3/1 with 5 guard. And it has hit if the opponent moved or was moved during this strike, plus 2 power. You might say, was moved? How would you do that?
Okay. So that's your payout for that card.
It's sort of, like Magical Do Re Mi lets you mess with positioning. So you can make it work off quite a few ways.
Right.
But if you have it in play, Dream Sally hits 1 to 7 there. Like, it makes this a very consistent card.
Yeah, sure. And I was about to mention that it seems like you said like 3 to 4 is kind of her preferred range band, and I was about to say that it doesn't seem like she has very much that hits outside of that. Well, Dream Sally hits for 5 natively, and then you can stack it even more to if you have to deal
You,
with a zoner. That's
well, semi-natively. You gotta have a way to make them move on it. But
right,
yeah, so there's that and Momo. Your greater
right,
sort of.
right.
There's the ultras add a lot of context to the kit.
Okay,
And then so it's a sweep. It's 3 or 5 power without you boosting. The opponent assaults in and you hit them for 5. You trade up. The opponent dives in and you trade even. That's the price of consistency.
yeah,
It does only have 1 speed and 5 guard, so this will lose to sweep.
sure,
Sammy will also lose to sweep on defense. Be wary of sweep.
right.
If
Yeah,
you don't have a way to beat
and that's
sweep,
it's a punishing card to lose to anyway.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, you normally lose to sweep when you trade with it.
Yeah.
They lose to sweep clean.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a way to deal with sweep, think about it because your opponent will also be thinking about how to play sweep.
Right.
Now, the boost on Dream Sally is Magical Boomerang. Speaking of sweep, this reads after draw 1, then return your attack to the top of your deck. That sounds kind of garbage, right? Well, sweep, hit the opponent for 6, then you draw a card, put your sweep on top of your deck, and then, oh wait, I'm platinum, I can wild boost it.
You're just
Or, oh
light.
wait, I'm into a season 7 character, I can just draw it. I don't
Right.
have to be worried about getting red.
Right. Sure. And then you can just recur sweep for a little while.
Yeah,
And it's an after effect. Sweep is plenty consistent to hit with, but if they cross out or if they dive over you or something like that, you still get it. You can still threaten that sweep later.
absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yep. It's just a fun little tool. Good with grasp, good with sweep. Good with the things you would want to boost with. Good with Happy Magica. You know, you boost Magical Boomerang. The opponent strikes into you. You defend with Happy Magica because it's a very safe defensive card,
Right.
and then you get to boost Magic Missile. To just really like being aware of the interactions of the cards in this kit. Platinum is like a combo character,
Sure.
but the
Yeah.
combos are 2 cards.
Right, and they're boost and attack, not attack and attack or something like that.
Yes, you're not going to be chaining advantage forever, but
Right.
you might, you know, play a boost and then make your opponent very scared. All right, so that's all the specials. They're all they're all at least like mediocre.
Sure.
Nothing so far has been outright bad. Now we're on to two of the funniest cards ever printed.
Wow. Okay.
So Cure Dot Typhoon is a 2 gauge 1/4/6 Ultra that has before advance 1 or 2. After, you may place a card from your discard pile on top of your deck.
Right.
Uh, did you want another way to recur sweep?
Right.
And it's just put it on top of your deck. It doesn't require you to wild boost it, and it's on and after. So if you use this as a dodge, it does. You know, it's a 1 to 3, uh, 4 power at 6 speed
Right.
that gives you whatever you want to wild boost or draw. And then it has the boost that I've been hinting at the entire time.
Yeah.
Magical Cat Hammer. +1 to 2 range, +1 speed. Okay, let's look at interactions in this kit. That makes Dramatic Sammy ranges whatever, because it's advance 1 or 2.
It's like
At speed 3.
1 to 5 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a 1 to 5. If there's room to advance past the opponent.
Sure.
But yeah, there's a 1 to 5. And then, this is my favorite turn 1 play. I boost this.
Okay.
That's it. Forces the opponent to move in.
Yeah.
Then you can boost cross and go, well, I'm actually over here now. Or
Right.
you boost assault and go, I'm actually over here now. Or you strike and your opponent gets mad because you've just played Mammy Circular. Because now this hits at 2 to 3.
Yeah.
So if you dive over your opponent, oh, they take 4 at speed 6 and you've moved out to range 3.
Which is kind of where you want to
Uh,
be anyway.
it's exactly where you want to be.
Right.
Mystique Momo is a 3 to 6 at 6 speed, and then you can discard it
Yep.
if you are within 2 to 5. You got to remember, you got to have the range to hit.
Okay.
So
So
you
so
can't.
even though if it like the interaction there is like, all right, I have this in play. I play Mystique Momo as my attack. Uh,
Yep.
the before trigger occurs, I discard this. Then range is checked.
Yes. So range
Gotcha.
is checked after before effects
Gotcha.
always.
Okay, and then if
Yep.
I wasn't in a position where I could hit that, I can't hit anymore with that, and I whiff.
Yeah. So I would not discard it
Right.
in that case.
Gotcha. That makes
Unless
sense.
you're up against Harkuman with that one ultra that has, if you were hit, close 8 or whatever it
Oh,
is.
Shipu or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. But yeah, and I've already said it for Nami Circular, Happy Magica. Doesn't really change much with it, and neither does Dream Sally. Like, those cards are whatever. But, if you move in to hit with Dream Sammy. So you have advantage, and then you sustain this. So you're at 1 to 2. You're at range 3 with +1 to 2 range and +1 speed. You know what hits at range 3 with that?
What hits at range 3,
Grasp.
Reggie? Yeah.
Grasp. Yep, 8 speed at range 3 with hit, push, or pull 1 or 2.
Right. Win the next strike. Basically, there's very
Yeah,
little in the game that can stop that.
yeah, it doesn't do much. It's 3 damage and some positioning control. On the other
Right.
hand, it's 3 free damage and positioning control, and you've just hit Sammy, so you've done 7 damage.
Yeah, and you got Gauge out of it, and they didn't, and that's a big economic win for a character who has a really strong Exceed and really good Ultra.
Yep, yep. And then it makes cross more like it lets you hit cross at range 3 and 4 No, 2 to 4, sorry. Because
Right.
it's 1 to 2. So it increases the min by 1 and the max by 1. So you get 1 extra range.
Right.
So grasp becomes, instead of range 1, it's 2 to 3.
Right.
Uh,
Or two to
yeah,
four.
it's 2 to 3.
2 to
Grasp is
3.
1 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said
Yeah.
cross. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, cross becomes 2 to 4.
Cool.
Uh, assault is 2 to 3. It's not really assault becomes 4 to 5. Yeah. But like it means at range 2 your dive now works.
Right.
So you can do the cross up nonsense.
Yeah. You can
Uh
go over them and you're still within range.
yep, and they might be playing focus going, okay, well he's playing grasp because grasp at range 2 is pretty much as good as grasp at range 3 except it loses to focus. Nah, I get dived.
Right. And so
The down
really the only situation where this isn't awesome is when you're at range 1 and don't have anything that backs you up or something.
yeah,
Okay.
excellent boost combo. That one and that one.
Totally. Yeah. Have
Plus 3 speed,
plus 3 speed.
and it is actually plus 3C because you've got the extra range. So the things that are fast at range 1 are fast at range 3, and you're giving them extra speed.
Right.
It's unhinged. It's genuinely a nuts boost.
And so I'm noticing that
The
a lot of the kind of payout cards that you're talking about are normals. Is that just because normals
yes,
with extra range are kind of nutty?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. That works.
Platinum doesn't have a ton of payout in her kit to begin with. Like her kit is relatively low value.
Right.
It's like good cards. A lot of her strength is concentrated in her ability and her ultras. Her
Right.
boost kit is also pretty solid. Like you look at her boost kit and you're like, nice, but it's not like a nothing to write home about.
It's not like a Kuma or
But
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
she has a range 1 spike. She has fast ranged options. Like she's got good cards, but they're nothing. She's not Ryu. She's not a Kuma. She's just gonna be playing boosts and then cashing out on boosts.
Okay. And those cash outs might often come from normals because those are those actually might so these are frequently utility or economic cards
Yeah,
rather than your big payout card. So just so boost special play normal might be a very very simplified way to describe what you're talking about here.
yeah, or even just like boost ultra, play something.
Play anything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So magical cat hammer. It also makes spike on curve from starting positions.
Yep.
Spike hits 3 to 5 then. Uh just just really just a obnoxious card from starting positions. And if you play it turn 1, the downside, the positions where it's bad are if you're at range 1,
Right.
which is why it is a worry to it's one of the few boosts I don't like to wild boost. I prefer to actually boost this one.
Right.
Like it's nice with the action compression, but the risk is too high on it.
Right. And conveniently you're keep if you get this in your opening hand, you're keeping it for sure because you like to boost it turn 1. Even if you didn't, you might keep it just to avoid uh
Yeah,
wild
I'm gonna
boosting it
go through
when you don't mean to.
I'm gonna go through mulligan strategy before the end of this,
Oh,
but
perfect.
that's part of it.
Okay.
Because I
Cool.
think Platinum's mulligan is interesting and important.
Okay.
Uh, but also kind of simple. So it's something we can go over in this. And then
Great.
we went over Miracle Gene already. This is a nonsense card, you know, and you have access to several different speed boosts in the kit. And you might go, oh, but if you retreat 2 with Magical Missile, how are you going to hit with it? Well, if you have a copy of Cat Hammer in discard or a copy of Do-Re-Mi Box in discard, you can then put it in play. It's
Oh
6 speed
yeah.
then. It's, yeah,
So
and
you could
then you might get less of a payout on it, but you have those things in play for next turn to get a payout
sure,
on
yeah.
next strike.
So over the course of 2 strikes, this is going to do Yeah, hopefully
Do
10 damage or something, right?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Probably about, yeah, sometimes more. Some depends on setup, but yeah, roughly about 8 to 10. This will probably hit for, you know, 7, 6 or 7.
right.
I particularly like to play you're not going to play Miracle Gene twice.
Sure.
You're not going to afford it. The game should be over by the time you have 8 gauge.
Right.
That's a lot of gauge.
Right, definitely.
So playing at EX makes it a lot more consistent. Or you play the boost on it, which is my nice little technical segue and onto Pico Hammer. +2 armor, hit if the opponent has 3 or more guard, +2 power, otherwise -1 power. Uh, so if so, there's a couple things here. It discourages them from playing slow things, and your kit, uh, if you haven't noticed, doesn't do super well into slow things.
Yeah,
If you trade, you're probably trading down.
you were talking about like many things don't
Sweet, yeah.
don't deal with sweep well. Focus same. A lot of your push and pull effects don't help with that.
This is a way to punish the opponent for playing focus. It also, +2 armor, means you trade better. So even if the opponent has an attack with less than 3 guard on it, the delta is still +1 because you lose 1 power, but you're gaining 2 armor.
Sure.
But if they play something with +2, with 3 or more guard, it's a 4 delta boost.
Right, which is another attack in a lot of cases. That's like hitting them twice.
It's unhinged. It's
Yeah,
absurd.
that's a lot.
Uh, if the that's a lot's on a different character. Yeah. Also, here's a little fun one. So it doesn't say their attack has. It just says if they have. So if they ever boost something with guard on it,
Oh,
that's just yeah. And anything with guard on it probably gives you 3
gives
guard.
you three.
Because 2
Sure.
guards, iffy. There are some things that give you, 2 armor, 2 guard, or
Right.
something like that.
Or
But a lot of things will.
a character
Yep.
ability that gives you two guard or one guard, but that would only really be beneficial to them if they were playing a thing with some guard on it already anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they have that, this is just free. That's just 2 armor, 2 power.
Right.
Mm. So very nasty boost, and you're probably gonna play one.
Because
Like,
you're never going to hit Miracle Chain twice. You got a free copy of this boost.
yeah,
Right.
you can play the attack EX to make it more consistent. Though in your kit, you don't really lack for consistency.
Right.
Alternately, you can play the boost. Uh, the boost is enough to win you strikes, and Platinum only really needs to win 1 or 2 strikes because she's so consistent the rest of the time. She can
Right.
just chip you down.
Right. And so it again, this is probably something I should have asked before, but this conversation brought it to mind that you are. I just said that you're pretty much guaranteed to have a free copy of this boost. That means that you drew it. How fast is Platinum going through her deck? It seems like it'd be quick because everything costs 2.
Yeah. So Platinum, you're probably gonna be spending in a bit of a cycle. When you have a good turn, you'll good hand, you'll be pushing the pace. You'll be because your ability rewards aggression.
Right.
Particularly if you get to exceed, it really rewards aggression.
Right.
But then you're gonna take your downtime. You're probably gonna need to change cards. You're probably gonna need to prepare. You will probably go through most of your deck because of wild boosting. You will see a lot of cards. Your deck will get thinner. Sometimes they will be misses.
Okay.
It, it's unavoidable. Like everything here hits, and 3 of the normals, but that does mean in your deck there are what 20. And I can't do math. 10 cards that do not have a continuous boost on them.
Right. Definitely. And those are just you just discarded it for nothing. But that does mean you're going through your options more quickly. You're probably going to reshuffle before
You
your opponent.
you are filtering through
Yeah.
your deck. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. And that doesn't really impact. I'm sorry to jump ahead a little bit into like some economic
No?
considerations. She doesn't have a ton of card draw on her kit, but her ability doesn't actually. It's force intensive, but the force is being generated from her deck, not from her hand. So it's not
Yeah, you're
it's
not
not as
burnt.
bad as I feel like it is.
Yeah, it doesn't kill your engine, basically.
Right.
You can use your ability as many times as you want. It's not gonna drop your hand. You're still gonna have whatever options you have in your hand available to you.
Right. Okay.
Oh, that's a point I should make. Just like a rules one that people will get wrong. Platinum reveals the top card of her deck. So if your deck is empty, you you do not reshuffle. You only reshuffle if you would wild swing or draw from an empty deck.
Gotcha. It's not a draw effect.
No, it just reveals it.
Okay. And that also means that uh if you have 0 cards in your deck, you just can't use the ability. It doesn't trigger a reshuffle.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can use it. It'll just do nothing,
Right. Sure.
which is funny, and I have done it. But yes,
Okay.
um, so that's all her normal cards. She also has this. So I'm gonna preface this. I'm gonna be kind of mean here because I'm Astral's biggest hater. She also has this fake card.
Okay.
Uh, Shining Layered Force is 4 gauge, 2, 9, 5 with 3 armor. Before push or pull 2, hit push 8. Uh, I've played this exactly once, and I've played Platinum more times than most people have played Exceed.
Yes.
Um, uh, it requires you to take a turn off to do the reshuffle action,
Yep.
and you really can't afford to.
Okay.
On top of that, it's 4 gauge. And if you have 4 gauge, you should be playing Miracle Gene. If
Right.
both copies have gone down from wild boosting, it happens. But in that case, you have a lot of force to go through your deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Astral's biggest hater. But in particular, this one is hits at ranges uh, 1, but you gotta have room to pull through. Uh, 4 if you can pull them towards you, and then others based on other if you have like
Sure.
this or that in play.
Right.
So it's very finicky.
Right. And but the actual consideration that's stopping you is just getting it into your hand in the first place and the opportunity cost of like it seems like it wouldn't be that difficult to hit, but
Yeah,
you
it's
have better things to do.
I have so many better things to do.
Right.
I
And if
don't have the time, and the resources are better spent elsewhere.
right. And if you get it in your hand, you just burst it. But you're saying that even taking the reshuffle action to get it in your hand in the first place is down tempo that you can't afford.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that like that's a turn you're doing the reshuffle action. It has value, obviously. Everything in Exceed has its place, but I'm not one to use the reshuffle action personally.
Right.
Um,
You would rather
I
just deck yourself out and trigger an automatic reshuffle than rather than a manual one.
yeah, yeah, do a big CC out of into an empty deck or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. So Platinum as a character is a mid-rangey to sort of longer rangey poke and annoy character until she sets up to hit you for a big thing.
Right.
Whether that thing is a chain of just incomprehensible things to deal with off her exceed mode, or a 2 strikes of very decent damage that are faster than you can deal with Miracle Gene.
Right.
Typically enabled by the fact that Magical Cat Hammer just wins strikes. So that's the broad overview.
Okay.
So in in particular for Platinum, I think it's really important. Your mulligan is super important. So for your mulligan, if I see Cure Dot Typhoon, I'm keeping it. but the rest of these cards I'm putting back in the deck.
Right. So
What you want to
use
keep,
your engine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What you want to keep? I might also keep a dramatic Sammy, just because like the boost on that's not phenomenal, and
Right.
it's a good card to have. If your opponent knows what Platinum's like, they might run into range 1.
Sure.
It's a useful tool.
Sure.
What you also want to put back any sweeps, any grasps, any spikes. What you want to get is all the normals that have instant boosts on them. Because then your wild boosting becomes more consistent in that it'll actually get something.
Right.
Um, that in saying that, you're obviously not always going to do that, get that. That's just how cards are. Don't be afraid to look at your discard, look at your hand, and go, okay, this is what's left in my deck. You do not have to wild boost every strike.
Yeah.
In fact,
It's the same rationale that would go into how you wild swing effectively. It sounds like.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
similar in though when you do have the next turn, there is a lot less risk. Like if you get a miss or you get something that's not super useful for the current position,
Mm-hmm.
if you have the next turn, that's no real loss. You can change it. You
Right.
can change the game state.
Right.
And you need to be ready to assess the game state based on your wild boost and the cards in your hand and go, I need to change it. I need to do this. I need to boost. I need to move. You cannot sit idly by with Platinum.
Okay. So the sort of overall game plan: get a bunch of instant boost normals in my hand. Ideally, turn 1 have magical cat hammer down to make everything in my kit really scary and just winning. Play reactively with my deck. Uh, be willing to change the situation. Build up gauge while annoying my opponent with various platinum things. While I'm doing that, craft either a gauge full of things that will make my exceed mode go crazy, or enough to do Miracle Gene to make that go crazy, and then blow them up.
Yep. The game probably doesn't literally end when you exceed or when you use Miracle Gene, but they'll put you enough ahead that you should win.
Right, and you just kind of chip them down from there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the stuff you want to be looking at specifically for exceeding, any of the normals, Happy Magica, uh, either of the ultras. Dream Sally doesn't hurt either. If you're looking for like a third option,
Right.
the rest of the cards are not bad, but you need at least 2 good things.
Okay. But
Uh,
that's kind of the overall play pattern,
yes,
and everything else is finding those combos and understanding the interaction between her cards and what her opponent is doing.
yeah. You look at your opponent. So one thing to point out, that's playing as Platinum. Against Platinum, she's kind of speed sensitive. If you
Mhm.
can be faster than speed 5 at range uh 3, she doesn't really have a lot. Like her 2 defensive cards aren't super impressive. Cure Dot is an ultra, and the rest of them you beat. So
Right.
if you can be above speed 6 at range 3, she has to do some serious thinking
Right.
about what she's going to do from there.
Right. And so just holding that option, holding a whirl or something over her head means that she's got to play around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, if she initiates and she's got power in play, you can be confident you can punish her a lot of the time. Particularly if it is specifically a whirl. That beats, your sweeps, beats uh Happy Magica. It does. The only thing like you might have to deal with is like a Dream Sally.
Right.
Oh no.
Yeah, you're not actually super worried about about taking 3 damage at speed 1.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. If you have speed boost in play, I would advise not playing Dream Sally, because putting extra speed onto Dream Sally doesn't really change much.
Yeah, totally. Now,
It
I
means
mean,
it doesn't die to sweep.
but it also doesn't. I mean, it. Yeah, okay, that's true. You're not losing cleanly to sweep, but it's still not trading up or anything. There's probably better.
Yeah,
Odds are you have something better in your hand that could actually, with a speed boost. I mean,
use it.
yeah, spike and dive both just beat sweep clean.
Yeah. Sammy beats sweep clean.
Sure.
Sammy's evil. That's a villainous card. You land one of those, your opponent will remember it forever.
Yeah.
Like, it only hits for 4 damage, but the spiritual damage is infinite.
Right, and then maybe next turn you hit for 4 or 6 cleanly again because of the sustained continuous boost
Yeah,
thing. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a seems like a linchpin card.
yeah, you don't even land it most games, particularly when people have more experience against platinum. I don't land it most games, but people have to play around it.
Sure. Sure.
It
Any just unless you have more about kind of counterplay and where to what your opponents might be doing to disrupt your play and what you can do about it. I have a different question.
Ask away.
So in terms of like economic considerations, um, you mentioned that she's likely going to have to change cards at some point, and that's kind of what 2 of her gauge should maybe be reserved for over the course of the game. Any other cards that are usually okay to spend as force? Any sort of like low value cards?
Um, dive, dive in particular. You have a good boost game, so you're not super afraid to boost war, and you have cards that fill that longer net range niche. You
Okay,
even have Mammy Circular, which is sort of a better dive.
right,
Um, I wouldn't be too worried about spending Dream Sally as force. Like, it's consistent, but it's consistently meh.
right. And
Um,
if you're in the position to spend it as force, it means that the boost on it is not in your deck. So you can't. It's not like It's not like the opportunity cost of magical boomerang should be stopping you from spending it
yeah,
as force.
yeah, that's the reason I don't say spend Happy Magica. You're giving up Magic Missile.
Right.
Don't give up Magic Missile. You
Totally.
can spend one Sammy as force. One Sammy can go down.
Right. You need to hold the other one as a threat. Actually,
Yeah.
that leads to a different question. So, magical boomerang. If you're wild boosting it, cool. If you're not, this probably isn't a boost even. Uh,
It's okay if you have a sweep in your hand and you know you're gonna play it,
right.
or
But
like a grasp in hand and you know you're gonna play it.
but there are some cards, 2, 3 in particular, that you're gonna you're gonna play as a boost on your turn and feel like you've done well on your turn. It's not like
Yes.
some of these, like when you say that she's comfortable in a boost war, not all of that is coming from
Her
her
ability. Yeah.
ability. She has good boosts and you should play them on your turn as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Specific, yeah, both the ultras, magical missile, uh, depending on positioning, magical bat
Mm-hmm.
can be, if they've got a load of speed up and you're at range 1 and they don't have a range 1 spike, uh, +5 guard means you can at least retaliate to whatever they do.
Sure.
Uh,
Get some gauge.
Doremi, Doremi box can be useful in a boost war, but it's typically useful in similar positions as the attack is.
Right.
So I'd just be considerate of the value of it. Like,
Right.
what are you getting out of this that you don't get out from playing the attack?
Right. So she can play neutral just fine. It's just that she has this extra
Yes.
thing that gives her action compression and increases her tempo on top of it. So when she's playing neutral, she's not getting that. She's not striking to give
Yeah,
her ability, but she can still just play.
yeah. You want to force the pace because you get benefit out of it
Right.
that your opponent doesn't.
Right.
Because when you play neutral, you and your opponent are getting similar benefit.
Yeah.
But if if you see an opportunity to strike, I would take it. Or in particular, if you can win a strike your opponent has initiated, uh, that's incredible for you
Yeah.
because of your ability to convert that. Like her ability, she is aggressive in the sense not that she wants to strike every turn, but that she will be striking the most because the opponent is going to be afraid to strike
Right.
because striking into you gives you value.
Right. And even more so than it would by passing the turn over to you. You're getting a special kind of purpose built ability out of it.
Yeah, and I mean it's the roulette. You get the chance at some value, but the chance at some value can pay out astronomically, and your
Right.
opponent doesn't know what you've got in your hand.
And
They
you
don't
and
know what threats are down.
right. And you have a lot of ability to sort of adjust that probability over the course of the game. You're paying attention to what's already down. You know what's in your hand. They don't.
Yeah,
So
if
you can react, but you can also plan a little bit.
yeah, and you
Okay.
have things that two things in particular that let you control what goes on top of your deck.
Right.
In particular, Cure Dot Typhoon is a really good way to win a strike your opponent initiates, and it puts something on top of your deck.
Yeah. So
Uh,
you're prepping for the future twice, really, when you play that card because Cure Dot and her ability together.
yep. Just a fantastic character to frustrate people with.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Um. So are there any matchups in particular? You mentioned the sort of range three uh speed difficulty that she tends to have. Does she have trouble into opponents who can like match her aggression, or can she pretty much just play against anybody?
She's a pretty like matchup agnostic. So long as you're careful about speed sensitivity, she's pretty matchup agnostic.
Okay.
You can play her into a lot of characters and do quite well. I play her into Lucia several times in tournament settings, who I would consider the queen of being a pain if you're speed sensitive.
Right.
And had decent success.
Yeah, and you did fine with her.
Yeah. Um, she can have some trouble into dedicated grapplers. She's good. She's decent at range one. She's not phenomenal, and she doesn't have a ton of ways out of range one aside from like magical missile and
Sure.
like diving over with circular. Without
And
those,
right. And
she's
both of those are have limitations to them.
yeah, they're not ideal.
Right.
So if a grappler manages to get in on platinum, she can struggle a little bit. She can get bogged down and then beaten up.
Right.
Um,
That also means
mm,
that several of her best cards uh that move her
just a
into
dead.
range one, yeah, they're scary now because you're giving your opponent the position they want.
Yeah, yeah. It's harder to use Mammy Circular. Dramatic Sammy's not so bad because it gives you advantage, so you can putz about there. But yeah, um, in particular, yeah. So grapplers give us some trouble. Characters with the ability to be very fast.
Mhm.
Like Platinum's very fast as printed, and Abyss let her be very fast. But sometimes that doesn't. That's not enough.
Sure.
I'm trying to think who else. Um, if you're against characters that do boost war very well, you might want to strike. It lets you diffuse the boost war if it's not going well for you. You know, empty cross, blocks, focuses.
Right.
Stop the opponent paying out super well, and then you get to wild boost, so you get a step ahead.
Right. Okay, so yeah, even like striking it's not just a poor man's tech. It also is keeping your engine going for her.
Yeah, it lets you, and if it's a character dedicated to boost warring, like Chun Li.
Sure.
Frustrating character. You might want to just strike with something really safe to clear the boosts away, and then let you get something started up again.
Right. It's kind of, you kind of skip that step in the middle where you're going back to neutral. When you do that, you're also getting a benefit out of it that kind of puts you at an advantage, or hopefully does.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is a gamble. You're playing platinum. You're committing to gambling at least a little bit.
Sure. And being reactive to make sure that she's able to keep that up.
Yeah, to
Um,
capitalize. Yeah,
right. Got it. Awesome. Okay. So anything else about Platinum herself um that you want to cover here?
I hate her art. If someone wants to give me alternate art for platinum, please, you know how to find me.
You got it.
Uh,
I'll put the
yeah,
word out. Actually, so this is a little bit of a scuffed segue, but let's say that you love Platinum, but you also hate her art. Uh, are there any other
who else
characters?
can you play?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Are there any other characters that feel like Platinum that, or other characters who a person might already be into, and if they like them, they should try out Platinum?
so mm, this is scuffed and very funny still. Mika, who also
That's
has
similar
terrible
art,
art,
right?
but she has her ability lets her look at the top deck when she wild swings, and then she can boost and then wild swing.
Right,
Right? Uh, no, sorry. Her ability lets her look at her top deck, and then she may boost. If that does not cause a boost, cause a strike, she must strike with a wild swing.
right,
I think that's exactly how it's worded. So it is that similar element of chance and playing around that chance, but she's a lot more grappler, charge in, beat up
right.
flavored.
Less of a annoying zoner, more of a I hit you for 9 sometimes.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. But she still has that element of weighing and boosting off your top decks.
totally.
Uh, who else? Oh, obviously Faust.
Sure.
Faust from season 7. His ability, frontside reveals your top deck. You do the boost on it, and then you strike. And then your exceed mode lets you reveal 2. You choose one and do the same thing. Uh, very platinum esque, particularly in exceed mode. Um, it is still the action compression thing, but no one has a chance to react to it.
Right.
It's just happening.
Yeah,
Um,
including you. You do, like you, the player of
yes,
Faust, don't have the ability to react to it either.
yes. In exchange, Faust has even better card quality than Platinum
Yeah,
does.
he's actually like his overall his cards are actually very good. They're just not. He just might not have that as consistent an ability.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, his also will allow you to deal with instant boosts, which just yeah. So those three characters in particular are very similar, like core characters.
Okay.
If you like one, you will probably, and so it's sort of like a zoner, a grappler, and a all rounder version of the same concept.
Right.
Um, they all sort of work together. In previous seasons, if you like the boost heavy frustrating playstyle, I mentioned her before, Chun Li.
Mhm.
Um, she will retreat, she will boost, she will retreat, etc., till the heat death of the universe.
Yep. Or until she hits
Um,
Hosenka.
yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah, that'll take a while probably.
And then in season 2, you have Renea, who is a boost character with some shenanigans and good mid range. And Lucia, I would also say, she doesn't do the boost thing, but she is very interested in board state and board control
Right.
with a very speed sensitive kit
Right.
and like
And
specific answers.
tends to frustrate a lot, similar to Platinum.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, Yeah, no, I think that's probably it. That's a couple from every season. Season 4 doesn't really have anyone much like Platinum.
I feel like the
Um,
closest is going to be like Plague Knight, but his play, like, just for the randomness element, but his play patterns are very
yeah,
different. Yeah,
yeah. See, you're probably going to hear that a lot. That season 4 is pretty unique.
it's kind
Uh,
of weird. Yeah,
uh, in compare, but yeah. So Platinum from 4, Mika from Platinum from 5, Mika from 6, Faust from 7, um, Chun-Li from 3, and then Renea and Lucia from 2. Don't ask me about that other season over there. I do not
sure.
know it. Those are the
Maybe
Darklands.
maybe who does boosts? Eva and Heidi,
Heidi?
I guess. Sure, that seems
Don't
fine.
ask me.
Wait, whose art do we
Stop.
hate?
Eva and Heidi.
Perfect. All right, we got it. We got it. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So if that's it, Reggie, I think we may have come to the end of the lesson. Thank you so much, as always, for providing your time and your expertise.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the expert to show up, but I thought I'd kill some
they're
time.
they're so late. I don't know what's taking them so long. Well,
Yeah, very strange.
when they finally get there, maybe we'll learn about how to play Exceed.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well, it
My
it
final words,
yes,
Platinum is a simpler character than she looks like. She is really just to play Platinum, learn how to play boosts and maximize the value of your boosts. Which now that I'm saying that is how you be good at Exceed a lot of the time anyway.
sure, right. But that also means that there isn't as much of an additional complexity layer on top of uh
Yeah.
Exceed being hard anyway, as it might seem for Platinum.
Yeah, if you are good at Exceed, you can probably play Platinum pretty well.
Cool. That makes sense. There's just maybe a slight adjustment in mindset that you need to make the most of
Yeah.
her.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. And I look forward to talking to you again about some other characters. And if that expert ever shows up, I'll let you know, and we can learn a lot from them too.
Excellent.
All
All
right.
right.
And everybody watching, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.